right, so my name's Andrew Ferris. I am the CEO and one of the co-founders of On the Spot, and I'm joined by our Chief of Partnerships and Business Development and Sales, Chris Gregory here.
Pleasure to meet everybody. Looking forward to chatting with y'all.
Yeah, no, it's my kind of general role in the company is I'm mostly manage the content development. But after this, Chris will be the one following up with all of you to see if there's potential for us to work together. Today we're just going to do, we are on the spot. And today we're going to do, this is an introductory webinar to our offerings as they are right now. I see almost all new faces here, which is great and exciting. We've been expanding our offerings enormously over the past year, or several years, but at a very fast rate of late. And so if you have seen a webinar from us in the past or learned about us in the past, you'll see that there'll be a lot more new stuff here for you to look at. First we'll just do an introduction, talk about who we are, what we do, go over kind of what our offerings are, and kind of, give you ideas for things that might work in your community, all the different types of storytelling tools that we've developed. After that, we'll talk about, regional projects, which is something we've been really building up into lately, and a great way to kind of, say if you're a smaller community, a fantastic way to, kind of get more neighboring communities on board with you and build up a project that is greater than the sum of its parts, as well as white label apps, which is an exciting new thing we're offering as well. Then Chris will talk about working with us, what that's like, how our partnerships work, our promotions, and some of the testimonials from our past partners as well, who've been really satisfied with and excited about the content that we built for them. And then we'll leave time for questions. And this will definitely, definitely won't keep you over now. All right. I'll just do a quick our quick backstory. My name's, as I already said, Andrew Ferris, and On the Spot began as my history travel blog in 2013. I studied history in university and always wanted to find something to do with it. That wasn't exactly, being a high school teacher. So I started traveling and making, a blog that featured then and now photos I took at when I was backpacking across Europe and Asia, and using historic photos to taking them from the same angle and combining them. And I found that was a really, really effective way to get people really engaged with history, even people who are not that interested in history typically. And so my passion has always been history, and I wanted to find a way to make high quality history, not just marketing copy type stuff, but really high quality, well written history that is combined with great interactive features, interactivity, and make that as accessible as possible to the widest possible audience. So I partnered with my university friend and a brilliant developer, Chris Reed, in 2016, and we built this concept of combining then and now photos with these really compelling, engaging historical narratives, combining those into an app that would allow you to go to a specific place and see, what happened on this spot. Hence the name. And as you can see, also, like to with these photos, it's fun to kind of incorporate yourself into them. So here's me at the burning down of a famous hotel in San Francisco in 1905. I like to kind of take a lot of that and now photos of me at historic disasters. So we built it into an app in Vancouver. It was it proved to be very successful and popular. And we started expanding. And we've grown since then in the last, I guess it's 7 years now, which is kind of a bit mind-blowing. We've grown to over 100 cities and towns in 6 countries, primarily in Canada, but increasingly we've been reaching out to Europe and the United States as well, and Mexico. So here's our Canada map of our partners, organizations that we partnered with, and cities that we have developed or are developing content for. I color coded all of our kind of the pins here by year, just to show you, as you can see, in 2016 there was Vancouver, You can't see it because there's so many other communities we've added since then. But 2017, you can see, one dot there, or one pin, or a couple pins. 2018, there's a few more. 2019, as you can see, by 2022, we're expanding much more rapidly now, because we really hit our stride, and we figured out how to really successfully partner with all kinds of different organizations. The kinds of organizations we partner with typically fall into 4 categories. These are, as you can see, museums and heritage organizations, tourism agencies and destination marketing organizations, business improvement areas and chambers of commerce, and governments. And what's really cool about what we do is that we found that providing these kinds of really accessible, interactive history experiences helps advance the goals of all 4 of these kinds of organizations. And has allowed, so it allows us to kind of really cast a much wider net than you'd usually think, with just digital history, for kind of getting advancing the goals of these different types of organizations. And yeah, of course, our user base has been growing a lot, and it's growing much more rapidly. And this is also almost all just through earned media and word of mouth, and as well as some marketing from our partners. But we haven't yet to really engage in massive marketing campaigns or anything to really boost those numbers. And I think we will be doing that in the future. And I think that's when once we have all this coverage and it's all centralized in a single app, that's really going to start boosting those numbers dramatically. Yeah, I guess we have a poll question here. I believe we can ask you all about you want to run that one? Okay. About we're curious to see what sector you're in when you that you're joining us from. What organization, what kind of organization you represent, if it falls into one of these 4 categories, or if it doesn't. We'd be really curious to know, what kind of organization you represent. Because actually, you'd think it would be mostly museums and heritage associations that we partner with, but we found that actually it's a pretty even spread between all 4 different types of organizations. Although, whenever, say, if it's like a project headed by BIA or tourism, we usually, do still work with the local museum to help us develop content and provide access to historic photos. So yeah, I don't know. Were you able to run that poll question?
Yes, sorry, Andre. It's running there in the background. Looks
Oh,
like
okay, cool.
Mostly with museums and heritage organizations, but followed up by tourism, government, and some BIAs sprinkled in.
Right. All right. So I'll focus on the. I guess we could see. Yeah, for sure. Okay, well, we'll focus on the history side of things for today. Here are offerings. Just as the top line is we develop engaging historic walking tours, which is we combined with the then and now photography, and we find once again the then and now photography is really popular. It's really something that is great for getting, especially young people, engaged with history. In addition, we also do audio walking and driving tours. So we can either narrate an existing walking tour or create a hands-free audio driving experience. We also have 360 virtual tours. So these are ones we do with museums. So we can come to your museum and do a 360, create a virtual museum tour, or do it outdoors. We're developing a number of outdoor virtual tours, which are really cool. I'm going to show you one of them in a bit. We also do drone photography and video. We do all kinds of translation. We have the capability to, we have in-house French and German translations. We also have who are very talented translators. We also have other we can support every language. I mean, one of the projects we're working on is Low German is being translated into Low German. We can host that, and there's a lot of interest for Indigenous languages as well, which is something we're really excited about. And we can also host audio in the tours, audio in various other languages as well. We also do analytics and digital advertising, and yeah, we help with promotion and stuff like that. So as you can see, we have a QR code. We can do QR codes that link to your content, stuff like that. And in addition, we kind of also focus on, or we can also we've expanded a lot just beyond purely history, which was how we started. But we now we have under our belt all kinds of different types of tours. These are places of Indigenous significance. We're working on several of these right now with Indigenous knowledge keepers. We can do archaeological sites by combining not just the then and now photos, but that works really well with the virtual tours. The historic downtowns and neighborhoods, we can talk about the architecture, vanished buildings, or different kinds of there's communities that exist in different neighborhoods, as well as we can focus on specific businesses. So for some of our BIA partners, we've done tours like in Toronto's Little Italy, that a lot of the businesses there are in historic buildings and have really long, interesting histories. So we're able to talk about those and combine the history with, as people are walking by that business, we can tell them all about the history of that building and the business there, and encourage them to go inside and offer, do all kinds of different offerings there. Another really popular one we're finding is public art tours. We're doing a number of mural tours right now. A lot of communities, they create murals. A great way to beautify the community, and or statues. We have a bronze sculpture. We have a tour in the bronze sculpture capital of Canada in Princeton, this is a great way to really promote the work of local artists, as well as allow people to see, say if the murals are, removed later on, well, we have a permanent digital record of it now. We can also do parks, trails, and nature. We have offline, where we are just about to launch by the end of this month, offline capabilities. And this means that you can use the app from anywhere, and it means that you can download the content, and then access all of it in remote locations. This is something we've done for our internment project, where a number of the Canada's First World War internment camps were located on remote mountainsides. And so we have tours of those sites, and you can use them without, you can take those tours without any data connection. We also have movie filming locations. This one we did a Rambo. Rambo was filmed in Hope, British Columbia, and that one. So we did a project for tour, Cascades, Hope Cascades and Canyons Tourism, and of the filming locations. So we're actually able to use then and now photos of the filming locations in Hope for the movie Rambo, because there's a lot of people who are fans of Rambo. They had a little festival to celebrate the 40th anniversary of that movie coming out last fall, and we launched our tour to coincide with that. And so a number of people, they took everyone around on the tour, and they were able to kind of create their own then and now photos, superimposing themselves into scenes from Rambo. And then, of course, we do audio driving tours and regional combinations, which means we can combine all these different types of storytelling, or all these different types of content, pretty much anything you can think of. You have tourist attractions, culture. There's not really any limit to what kind of stories we can tell on our platform. And so yeah, no, we're very just curious to hear what kind of stories you'd like to tell in your community. It doesn't have to just be then and now photo based, but it can be focused on anything, and we can use all kinds of different tools. The virtual, the audio, the drone, and like contemporary photos and stuff like that to tell those different stories, and video production as well. And yeah, so this is just a placeholder slide of some of my favorite images while we do an app demo. So this is Banff, this is Winnipeg, this is Parry Sound, this is Soviet troops storming the Reichstag in Berlin in 1945. Another Banff. We just launched Banff last week, so that's part of our internment project. This is Calgary. Anyway, so I guess do I have to hand it off to you?
Just make myself a presenter here, and then we'll go ahead and share the screen.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, don't hesitate to ask any questions in the Q&A. Okay, there's a lot. Okay, actually, sorry, I wasn't getting. Okay, we will address all of them when we in due time. But anyway, we'll just do a quick app demo here. So this is when you open the app. This is I think one of our strengths. So to fundamentally understand is like we have an on the spot app, and in it we combine all of our different communities into a single app. A lot of other comparable apps do not do this, right? They make your own app for you, and there's the issue with that, I think, is that it's very difficult to get people to download an app, and even more difficult to get them to keep it on their phone. So what we do is by creating all these different communities and centralizing them all in a single place, and also giving equal weight when you open the app to a city like Vancouver or a community like Ucluelet, which is a small town on Vancouver Island. By doing that, we're able to really put those smaller communities front and center. And also, because we develop our user base most heavily in large cities, when people in large cities open the app, they can immediately see what other nearby cities are available. So as you can see in this list, it's sorted by distance from the user. So we are in Vancouver and Victoria right now. So it's like, so we're going down kind of the list here, but you're able to organize it a few different ways. And yeah, as you can see, we have about 100 cities in here. And yeah, I guess yeah, if you want to bring up Vancouver. So Vancouver was the first city we developed in 2016. But I like to use it as when we started, I want to try a lot of different storytelling techniques or just types of different tours. Yeah, well, here we can see we call these crossfades. So I went out, took 650 then and now photos across Vancouver, and a lot of the best ones I combined into then and now or crossfade images. So you can kind of go through here. We make a bunch of these for every city we go to. Most of the time, we do actually go and send a photographer, usually me, to all of our partner cities to conduct photography. And as you can see, these photos are really, I think they're really cool myself. Yeah, and so we have every partner community we add to the app, they have a little write up, so that people who are just scrolling through can see, okay, what's this town all about? We have a territorial acknowledgement, which I also should have done at the beginning of this. And yes, Vancouver and I'm in Vancouver, and I acknowledge that I'm on the unceded territory of the Coast Salish peoples, including the Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh peoples. And also we show who our partners are. And in this case, with Vancouver, we partnered with the Downtown Vancouver BIA. And so with this, I wrote I guess about 11 tours up front, and so I just kind of quickly run through some of these just to give you ideas of what kind of tours are possible. So I love this one. I'm a military history buff. That's my educational background, and I was able to find on Kitts Beach, which is a major beach in downtown Vancouver, in the archives just a series of photos of troops practicing a landing for I believe the Aleutian Islands, not D-Day, but I called it D-Day, but during the Second World War. And so I was able to take this really cool set of photos, showing troops storming ashore on a beach where people are playing volleyball today. So you get some really surprising tours. And I use this one, or surprising opportunities when you look at the then and now photos or historic photos that are available. Yeah, and then we also have. So that was kind of a fun one. This is another fun one. The history of real estate speculation. This is Vancouver. I mean, I think we're all aware but especially in Vancouver, the modern obsession with real estate speculation. And it's a really fascinating story to go back and actually see that Vancouver's history is basically all a history of real estate speculation. And we're able to use these photos of certain buildings going up at certain times to tell this really, really fascinating story. Walking around downtown Vancouver. We can do biographical ones. This is on, we did one on Joe Fortes, who was a really, really wonderful character. He was a Caribbean, Afro-Caribbean man who came to Canada and came to Vancouver and became a lifeguard, and it was basically taught all of Vancouver how to swim. And yeah, I really encourage you to check that tour out. It's one of the most wonderful stories I've ever read. We did Chinatown, and so different communities. So this is, examples of different neighborhoods we can do. I believe we also have, and then we can also show one of the really cool things with the then and now photos is that if your community, say you've demolished or your community happens to have demolished most of its historic buildings, we can reconjure up the past using then and now photos, because people, every stop on these tours is mapped to where a photographer was standing when they took a historic photo. So if we can kind of turn your community into an outdoor museum and show people what was once there. And we've done a number of these kind of vanished building tours. We can also do tours on events. So this was the Great Fire of Vancouver one. It follows the course of the Great Fire of Vancouver in 1886 that destroyed all of Vancouver and turned all of Vancouver to ashes, basically like a month after the city was founded. We can also do architecture. So this one was really fun and cool because we were able to go, because the development of the city kind of progressed from, the kind of the heart of the city progressed from, in Vancouver from, one neighborhood to the next. And so we're able to kind of follow those stories with the latest buildings that were put up, in the 1890s, and the 1900s, 1910s, 1920s, and also talk about the architecture and go ahead and what factors influence that architecture, because architecture is all about the civilization, the society, that it tells you everything, an enormous amount about the society that built those buildings. And then of course, Vancouver's Japanese Canadian community. This is another fascinating story, a really, really, really heartbreaking story, because Vancouver's downtown east side was once actually home to all of Vancouver's Japanese Canadian community until the Second World War, when they were all sent to internment camps, and the community was basically destroyed. And another one that I like to kind of focus on as like a kind of thinking. So you just for when you're thinking about what kind of tours might work well in your community, this is a great one. Kind of thinking outside the box, is that Vancouver is not a community where you'd think there would be that many. It's not like exemplary of the history of the car. It's not Detroit or something. However, we can tell a story of the history of the car walking around Vancouver, because on one corner we have a picture of a horse and buggy. That would be a very big bunny to be pulling. On the next corner, we have a picture of the first car in Vancouver in 1904. On the next corner, we have the first Model T. And on the corner after that, we have, say, the first Dodge, which is, like the first kind of different types of cars and different colors of cars. And then you can kind of show also how public transportation evolved. And we can tell this wider civilizational story and put Vancouver, the development of Vancouver, in this wider civilizational context, while seating it firmly, the story firmly within Vancouver itself. Stories of Granville Street. This is a really fun tour about all the stories of prohibition, and it's like all these like corruption in City Hall in the 1910s and 20s and stuff like that. And then skylines. This is another really cool one. I hope we get to do some more of these in the future. But basically, this one was it's all taken photos of Vancouver's skyline taken from Stanley Park, strung out along the seawall, and at each stop along the way, is usually, so you can see a then and now photo of what it looked like, and then I take a poem that was written about the lived experience of living in Vancouver around that time, around the time that historic photo was taken, and you can kind of sit and just reflect on like what the people's lives were like when they were living there. And I think and then of course the Stanley Park seawall is a fairly, it's the main tourist attraction of Vancouver, the main thing you have to see if you come to Vancouver. And so this is shows you all the kind of everything you're going to see, all the landmarks, that kind of thing. And anyway, so that's just a way to tell you all the different kinds of tours that are available. As you can see, we'll just start one of these tours. So it's mapped out. So like I said, every stop is mapped out to where a historic photographer was standing. And once again, this is just for our then and now tours. Our tours, we'll get into the other kinds of storytelling afterwards. And then there is, you can see them. You can kind of compare then and now with the photos that we've taken at each of these spots. And you can see a map as well, which you can so you can follow your route along, click around, hop to spot, and Yeah, and then also, I don't know if you want to try the camera tool. Since we're doing an app demo, it just brings up, basically this works in the app, but it brings up a a ghost image of the historic photo. So you're standing on the spot, you can line up the historic photo with what you're looking at, and then take a photo. It spits out a combination, then a now photo, and then we're shortly we'll soon have an editor that allows you to kind of superimpose yourself into historic photos, just like that one that you saw in the introduction. And we think that's going to be really popular with young people. It was when we had it working earlier, but we just the development kind of environment has changed a lot, the app store updates. So we just have to do a bit of a heavy lift technically to bring it back up to speed. But it's an amazingly popular tool that we're really excited to get back going again. We had a number of high school kids who would, we saw on Facebook, would go out, take the app and start superimposing themselves into historic photos and sharing them on social media and getting them all into history. And they were saying like, oh, I was never that into history before, but it's a fun thing for me to do on a Saturday afternoon. And so if we also take a lot more than enough photos than we need. So I did about 650, 700 in Vancouver. And you can kind of go through all of those. And what the idea being that you can have, having so many photos gives us a lot of building blocks for tours, but also allows you to, kind of see what's nearby you and maybe, hopefully have something on every street, right? So people can see what the entire town once looked like. Here's an example of a new project we just launched as well. It's Sydney. It's on Vancouver Island. And we just wanted to show you this because this one is an example. We just wanted to show you that, we put as much TLC into put as much TLC into our smaller communities as we do our large ones. If you want to maybe just take a look at the tour there. We partnered with the Sydney Museum and the Sydney Downtown BIA there as well. So you just want to take a look at like a stop. So yeah, the idea here being we have our then and now images. So we have a top level of text. It's the that is like, this is the caption section, and it's like it acts as a introduction to the longer write up and a caption for the image. And then beneath that we have a much more comprehensive write up so that people can really dive into it. And this is something that we always, we put a lot of effort into. Our team, we have a writing team that is very talented. And has a lot of experience working with all kinds of different communities, they are trained historians, and so we do footnotes, we do and you can see there's a quite comprehensive write-ups, and we do this for all of them. And so the idea being that we call this a skimmer dipper diver approach, so that if someone we don't want to, a lot of people are not that interested in history, or at least they don't know it yet. But we have, but pretty much everyone is interested in the then and now photos. So those people are the skimmers. So they can just go through, take the tour, look at the then and now photos. If they want to get a little bit more information, they can read the caption section. And then if, those are the dippers. And they can go from stop to stop, just read that, get an idea of what's being talked about, and if it's interesting to them, or if they're just really into that history, then they can be a diver and read the entire thing, and so that people can kind of take and leave as much information as they want without feeling overwhelmed. So it is like an outdoor museum, really, that we can create in every community. That is also because we put it all online. It's a great education, on our website as well. All the tours are available on our website. It's a great educational tool for our online.
Perfect. Shall we take a look at that Okanagan driving tour then?
Yeah, sure.
Let me pull that one up.
Yeah, so we do also driving tours. So we're doing a lot more of these now. And yeah, Red Lake is one that we're working on right now. It should be coming out quite soon. But it's a audio driving tour. So we put all the text here as well. But the idea being that it will give you directions to drive from one point to the next, and along your drive you can listen to write-ups that are timed and to coincide with the length of the drive. And as you can see, we have audio editing and recording.
I'll just give a little quick sample here.
Yeah.
Part 1, to Peachland. On this first segment of the tour, drive east on Highway 97C from the Visitor Information Center for 3 minutes.
The sun's just coming to get me. 1 second.
So yeah, as Andrew was saying there, we've got the driving tours are a new feature for us, and we're fully kind of building out what the next steps look like. But the end kind of goal is to incorporate geofencing, directions, and kind of as you would see in like Google Street View and those sorts of things, and really make it kind of that hands-free functional tool.
Yeah. All right.
So I think on that note, Andrew, do you want to take over and show off a few
sure.
things?
Yeah. I will become. Yeah, there's a couple other things. Easiest to show that on the. Here we go. On here. So I hope you guys can all see this. So we also do virtual tours. So I hope it's not here. Wait, maybe just make that a lot bigger. But yeah, so this is a virtual museum tour. So this is one we did of the Toronto Railway Museum. This one includes audio. As you can see, they have really good real estate there.
Welcome to the Toronto Railway Museum's Roundhouse Park audio guide.
Yeah, so you get the idea. You can move around, site to site. We've done about 20 virtual tours now across Canada. But a lot of them are of museums. You can navigate around. There's a lot of different designs that we have for kind of the wrapper that we have here. A lot of different capabilities. Here's a new one that we're just testing out, but we have a drone. So there was a sunny day, a little while ago, or a wintry day, or a snowy day rather, followed by, and so we can create outdoor drone tours, which is really cool. And our drone takes
a little slow there, Andrew. So maybe just slow down on the slow.
Yeah. So you can see so what we can do is we can create if you have like a historic site or over your town or something, we can create an outdoor drone tour. This is kind of some of the first photography I did as a test, but just to combine all our different kinds of storytelling together into this virtual tour concept, and with maps and stuff like that. This one was a nicer day. And so this is something that we can do for your community as well. Especially, I think it would work. Really excited to do it for a historic site. So it's like a heritage village where we can take then and now photos, or like do a virtual tour that combines kind of drone virtual tour from the sky and move it down to the ground as well. And you can kind of like seamlessly move back and forth there. And then also, I just want to show you, this is one of our newest partner cities that we've launched, or we're just in the process of launching, Powerview, Pine Falls, Manitoba, the Garden in the Wilderness. This is a really fun project, a nice little plant community, but for a lumber mill. But we also create, we can do all kinds of video as well. We've done pretty much full length history documentaries as well on. So we can combine the then and now photography, the audio, historic photography, storytelling, and drone stuff, virtual stuff. And so we can combine all this into actually like a very well packaged documentary as well. But this is just a little like teaser trailer. We're trying to make these for all our partner cities as well now. Where we can create a nice little teaser trailer for all of them, and we're like fully licensed drone operators and everything like that. So yeah. So anyway, that's just a cool thing I wanted to show you that we can do with the drone stuff. So yeah, awesome. Okay. Should we? No, I guess we'll wait to ask the poll question.
Yeah, I'm just going to trigger the next poll question. So that should be showing up on your screen shortly there.
Yeah.
But in the term, I'll let you take it away, Andrew.
Yeah. So. As you're answering that, so that's all our offerings. Those, all the kinds of stuff that we offer now. We also do projects where we can tie regions together. So we find this is really a successful way to get a lot of smaller communities together, working together under the aegis of let's say a regional organization, and we're able to tell all of those different community stories. So and an example is that, that South Okanagan driving tour we did. That one we combined, we did 8 different communities across the region. We worked with the local tourism and the local heritage organization in each of those communities. And what were each of those had different things they wanted to showcase, different stories they wanted to tell, be it like winemaking, indigenous history, the Kettle Valley Railway, say like Penticton's festival culture, and we're able to tell all those different kinds of stories in the on our platform, while being able to just combine them all into like a pretty successful package. And it's something that we've been it's a great way to spread the cost, but also get get everybody on board and make sure a lot of these smaller communities don't get left out, and that the ones that need the want to draw those tourism, want to draw those visitors, we can help draw people to them by taking like a major anchor city like Penticton, and then telling people, well, here's everything else that's available along the way. And also when people are traveling around, they can see like they can plan day trips and itineraries all across the region. Yeah. We also do themed projects. So this is projects that combine a number of different communities, but maybe not geographically, but according to a theme. And the major one we're working on right now, and that we're really excited about, we're launching. It's our biggest project ever that we're launching in about 3 weeks' time. Is on all of Canada's First World War internment camps. And these were primarily for very unjustly, but Ukrainians who had immigrated to Canada, and who happened to have Austro-Hungarian passports. Canada set up a series of what turned out to be forced labor camps across the entire country. And so we did all the British Columbia camps last year. Now we're doing all the rest for the rest of the country. And so we're able to unite all of these into a single page. We're going to have actually a separate app for them as well in the future, which I'll get to in a minute. We're able to kind of find a theme that unites all these different communities and put them together. There's like an internment page on our site which combines all the content, and it's like a clearinghouse of really high quality content that's spread across the country. Another one we're doing is on Southwest Ontario's Black History. This is something we've been working on for a while, but across Southwest Ontario, we partnered with a number of heritage organizations to do stories on that region's really rich Black history. And these will be audio driving tours, focusing on museums. The driving tours take people to, we guide people from stop to stop, but these stops are sites that are of significance to the region's Black history, and museums like the blanking right now, the Buxton Historic Site, and I caught it. Anyway, yeah, no, there's Uncle Tom's Cabin. That's it. Where I did a bunch of drone footage there actually last year. So yeah, there's all kinds of different themes, and so yeah, I don't know if you guys have thoughts on different themes that might work in your community. Maybe just get thinking about that, and different things that can unite you with other communities across the region, and see if we can bring everyone together, because that's something we're really good at, is bringing communities together, making sure nobody gets left out, everyone gets a chance to tell their story. Yeah, I guess we can take a look at our results here.
Yeah, so results from the last poll came in basically topping the charts was Then and Now walking tours. So it's a good sign. You're on the right track, Andrew. And then followed up with some interesting QR codes, the virtual tours, a little bit on the public art, some audio, and then kind of rounding out with some virtual drone, culinary, and the beer, wine, and distillery tours.
Yeah, that's great about the virtual tours. That's something we're putting a lot of kind of technical bandwidth into kind of developing and improving right now as well.
Perfect.
So it's nice to see that there's interest. Yeah.
On that note, just with regards to kind of the regional and theme projects, as this is kind of a new area for us and one we're focused on, we're always very interested to hear, how many partners you typically work with. So I'm going to throw a poll up. I'd love to hear your thoughts on how many partners you typically partner with.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because this is something even our projects that are focused on single communities, like for instance, Sault Ste. Marie, we partnered with tourism, the Downtown Association, the museum, and the Economic Development organization, and that's in one smaller. Well, it's a smaller city, but it's we're able to kind of advance the interests and the goals of all these different organizations, not just being history focused, but also doing, art, public art. We're doing a big mural tour for the city of Sault Ste. Marie. Actually, we're expanding ours right now, expanding on the coverage that we have done in the past. And that's actually something I guess I might touch on real quick, is that what we've had happen with a lot of our partners is that they come to us, start off with a small project, and then we follow, and then in later years they keep coming back to expand upon it because they're really satisfied with what they got, and with their offerings, and with our offerings, and want to see it built upon and see more people see it. And also, as we add more cities to the app, we keep getting more users, so there's always going to be fresh sets of eyes looking at the content in any given city. Okay, and I'll just touch really quick on this one. Press, social media, and advertising. We have a really good track record on getting press whenever we launch a new city. We've been on pretty much every, featured on all of the major television networks in Canada, and in most of the major newspapers. I believe the Globe and Mail has eluded us to date, but that's the but all the Post Media, all of the Toronto Star, all of them, yeah. Anyway, and of course local news and stuff. So basically, we're able to get so much press coverage whenever we launch because we're able to provide we create all these great then and now photos that are great graphics that they loved, and it's also just a story that it's something people can do, right? Like people want stuff to do, and it's like, oh well, here you can just go out right now and walk around and learn about your community, and it's a high quality tool. So we have great success getting a lot of interest with media, and we also our social media stuff gets a lot of engagement, because our advertise. So say when we do advertise, we get enormous amount of engagement, 15 to 19 cents per click, whereas the industry average is $1.72. So that's how much you have to pay in advertising to get a click, but people like to click on our stuff. So yeah. All right. So I guess, were you gonna do this one or was I?
Yeah, I can take over from here, Andrew.
Yeah.
So we'll kind of round out the slide deck here, a few more slides, and then we can get right into Q&A. But one of the things Andrew had mentioned earlier in the conversation here was with regards to white label apps. So we've got a couple of these projects kind of ongoing right now, but they're essentially self-branded offerings. So if you've ever thought of developing an app for your museum, your local community, this is your opportunity to have a fully branded app that you can control. It also would include things like, or it could include things like payments, donations, and transactions. But the big thing to kind of highlight here is, with kind of 7 years experience in this field and developing apps and the content, the OTS team has a really solid understanding of what it takes to maintain an app and keep it up and live on the app stores. The unfortunate thing that we found with a lot of communities that we engage with is that they've gone down the path of hiring kind of a standalone app developer. And the unfortunate part is that if you don't support your app on the app stores, it will eventually get just delisted because of functionality issues. So you get all the functionality, all the support of the OTS team with your branding, your colors, and your content. So we've got a couple of apps coming out over the next little bit. So kind of stay tuned, and we'll be happy to share more information as they go live.
Yeah, no, an exciting thing about that as well is, like, it's, I think for a lot of our partners, it's important for them to generate revenue. And what we can do is, we have the base on the Spot app, but we'll be implementing, like, all the content will, like, for your community will be in your own app, and you can, charge download or charge, say for, charge downloads for specific tours and stuff like that. And so you're able to generate revenue from it, as well.
Perfect. So on to kind of the flexible partnerships. So probably the biggest thing that's kind of tying this whole presentation together is really our knowledge of the not-for-profit and the community organization space. Again, 7 years in this space, we've learned a great deal about what it takes to partner with these organizations and local governments, and what the process looks like. So we've developed a project and billing structure to make sure it aligns with the organizations and eliminate pain points. And whether you're a community of a few hundred or hundreds of thousands, we're really proud to be flexible and nimble enough to develop solutions that work for you. So on that note, we'll just go over a couple of kind of partner testimonials. Is probably the most important here. And now that we've kind of showed you all the cool tools and projects, here's 3 testimonials from BC, Alberta, and Manitoba from some of our previous customers and existing partners. So really, in summary here, our product has the potential to bring you your organization media attention, worldwide customer exposure, engagement across demographics from youth to seniors. It's going to be able to showcase your local history and your stories, and all while driving engagement and improving your local economy. So on that note, that concludes our presentation. I think we've got one kind of final poll to ask, and otherwise we'll get right into any questions and answers that you might have.
Sounds good. Yeah. All right. Yeah. All right. Well, I'll give enough time to read all those. And yeah, I got the last. There we go. Yeah.
So maybe perhaps while we're waiting for a few questions here to start flowing in, and I'll start organizing what's existing in the chat. Do you want to give the audience a quick overview of whether we're sending out information and kind of the follow-up next steps?
Yeah, of course. So what we'll be doing is sending out a recording of this afterwards to everyone who attended, and those who didn't make it as well. And so you can share it with anyone in your community and in your organization as well. And then we'll be I guess we'll be following up with emails and phone calls to see what interest there is in working together, and how we'd also love to learn more about your communities. What your experiences are and what your desires are, what your goals are for your communities, and see how we can help. Because I think we're since we're we're like a fairly agile little company. We're able to really take in whatever you would like to see, listen to what your demands are, and find a way to make it happen. As you can see, I mean, a lot of the features that we've added since just the then and now photos has been because of feedback we've received from our clients, and we can go out build stuff for you. So we'll be following up. Chris will be, and we really look forward to setting up meetings and seeing what you all have to say, and seeing if we can get the ball rolling on a partnership. Like I said also earlier, it can start out really small, and then we can just build on it in a phased approach over years to come.
Perfect. So first question coming in here came in earlier in the presentation was with regards to who actually collects this content, such as the then and now photography, creating the audio, the tours, etc. You want to give us a bit of an overview on the team and how this content comes to be?
Yeah, of course. So it runs the entire gamut from a lot of our partners just say, here's kind of a general overview vision of what we'd like to see, go for it. And that's, say, for instance, what happened with Strathmore, Alberta, right? So I just like to go back here because I remember this is actually one of our first projects. But I think they gave us full latitude to kind of tell that story. So I'd go to there, me or a member of my team, the history team would go there, conduct photography research, and then we put together a proposal for our partner, and then once they approve it, we put together the content. Once they approve that, then it all goes up. And I remember with Strathmore, I mean, the local history guy said, well, he didn't think the history there was all that interesting, but he said, well, you managed to put lipstick on a pig. and I thought it was fascinating history. Actually, there's a lot to work with there. I mean, there's a lot to work with everywhere, but is the thing is, so on the one end of the spectrum, we also, we do the audio recording. I don't know if you noticed. I mean, I do a lot of it right now, although we're depending on the project, we can have we can have any other people record it too if you don't like my voice, or we can we can put it all together for you. And then on the other end of the spectrum, we just have submitted content. If you have tours already developed, if you have audio already put together, we can just host it for you, and we can basically come up with a solution that fits what you need. Basically, I mean, that's we're doing a project for Wood Buffalo, that's Fort McMurray right now, and the communities around it, and that one's an entirely submitted content, and they're going out into the community, finding a number of sites of Indigenous heritage or Indigenous significance, and they're looking to get that translated into Cree and Dene, and that's all submitted content that we can host, and So it runs the full gamut from we do it all to you do it all, and we just host it.
Perfect. One kind of follow-up question coming from the same person was asking if we can elaborate on how we encourage people on tours to visit and enter businesses.
Of course.
So I can take a quick stab at this, and then if you want to add anything there.
No.
So this is a big one for us. So when we partner with chambers of commerce or local governments, of course, driving foot traffic and encouraging economic impact to the local community is a big one. So there's a few different ways we can do it. We can highlight specific businesses. So, for example, I'm in Victoria, BC. I know there's tons of history along Government Street. Lots of history, like with Munro's Books and Rogers Chocolatiers, with stories around ghosts and everything else, and the original settlers. So if you want to highlight stories like that, that can encourage engagement from users to actually enter the stores and engage. You can also do highlights, kind of promoting the specific businesses. I'm trying to think here. Anything to add there, Andrew?
Oh no, that's great. I see one that's can we add links in the content write-ups? Yep, we can add links to everything. One of the things is, what we're doing with our mural tours is we're adding, say, all the Instagram and handles and like the URLs for all the artists as well. But we can embed links. However, we can embed any kind of content. Basically, there's not really any limitations on that.
We've got a question here coming in about the then and now photographies, how that process starts. And so does that process start in the archives and then Andrew would go to the exact spot and take a now photo, or what's that look like?
Yeah, basically it's sitting down, doing a lot of research, and I've gotten quite practice at it, and either for larger communities, they usually have say like the National Archives and stuff. There's a lot of photos to work with, or with the smaller communities we work with. They're always happy to, like the museums and heritage societies, always happy to give us access to their photos, and we do proper crediting and everything. And so once we have those photos, I map them out, spend a lot of time looking at Google Maps and Google Street View, kind of guess where they were taken from, and then I go out and I spend 2-3 days to a week, depending on the size of the project and how much like archival, like in the archives research I have to do. If I have to go in and manually digitize everything myself, which is a bit of a headache, but or if it's just I can come there with a full set of say 150 photos where I think where they were taken, go out, map them, retake them from the same angle or from the right angle, remap them, edit them, format them, create crossfades, and then upload them, and then tie them all to all the data that the history and the write-ups and stuff like that. It's a 98-step process, I believe, that I've come up with, but for getting a project from one end to the other. But it's like my project management software is a bit of a mess. Well, it's just a lot of boxes to tick along the way, but you gotta do them all.
Yeah, it's a very involved process, but Andrew's really pulled it down to a science. So if you've got archival photos, Andrew can figure out where they've been taken and update them. The next question is with regards to pricing. This is always, of course, a tricky one because it kind of depends on the project and the community and all the different features you want. Andrew kind of went over, we've got kind of two entry points. From kind of the fully hands-off approach, where we send in a team, get boots on the ground, take the photos, do the write-ups, and basically look for approval or sign-off from your organization, all the way to submitted content tours where your organization develops the walking tour, whatever kind of multimedia you want, so be that photography or videography on each stop, and then submits it to us. So on the submitted content front, we're looking just a little bit north of $6,000 Canadian per tour. And then on the fully hands-off side of things, you're looking at about $16,000 to get a fully customized tour developed by the OTS team.
And yeah, I'd just like to say, Bob, I'd love to sit and chat with you about World War II history at some point. I can show you my, I have a lot of, I don't know, that history is fascinating for sure.
Yeah,
a lot of books.
Just looking through here for some final questions. Can you also ask for donations or generate revenue through the On the Spot app, or only the separate app?
Yeah, I mean, I guess I can do that one. So what we do have is we're just kind of we haven't implemented it across the board yet, but at the end of a tour we have like a tip your tour guide button. We have it, I believe, for our internment ones, which go to, since our partner there is like the Canadian Congress. So we take donations to go help buy emergency supplies for Ukraine. But yeah, you can basically, what we're doing is kind of going to all our previous partners and develop, taking revenue sharing agreements to them. And then once we implement those, so anyone donates, then we share most of the revenues with that with our partners. And also another thing that we're doing with the base On the Spot app is downloadable map packs. So it's kind of a bedrock of our kind of a full access ideology that there has to be a way for everyone to be able to access all the content. We don't want to paywall it, but one way we can do that is kind of get people to get a little revenue off it that we can share with our partners, is have a downloadable offline capabilities, which adds a bunch of features as well. And so you can pay a few dollars to download that, and then we share the revenues. Download it for offline use, and also to add a few more features, and that's yeah, one way that our partners can generate revenue as well.
Perfect. There's just kind of a few more questions coming in here, just with regards to kind of pricing. So somebody missed the lower cost price range for kind of submitted content. So that's coming in just a little over 6,000. I believe it's 6,100 Canadian at kind of our last pricing model. And so in that sense, you would be developing the walking tours yourselves, the content, and then submitting it to us. And in that sense, On the Spot is your technical partner in providing the content out to users. We also had a question come in here, which is an excellent point to make with regards to kind of the many different communities you're aware of funding. Are we aware of any funding opportunities or grants to help offset costs for projects? So great question, because a lot of our communities do go down the grant route to fund a lot of this work. Grants are constantly changing, and depending on the actual project that you're looking to implement, there's a number of different options to take a look at. You can look at things for like accessibility for seniors, history grants for digitizations. I'm trying to think here, Andrew, any like there's some federal ones, local governments usually have them. I know like there's a Victoria Foundation here locally from where I am. They offer grants. So there's really a wide range there, and it's probably best we have a kind of a chat one-on-one if you're looking in that direction. Be able to guide you towards something.
Yeah, we maintain a listing of available grants that we try and update periodically. So it's just because they turn over every year and there's different. There was a lot of COVID related ones that have wrapped up, so we kind of have it's the funding landscape has changed, but there's still an enormous number of different types of grants available, and some that are quite surprising. And so yeah, we can definitely give you looking at what your situation is, what kind of organization you represent, and what you're looking to do, and we can definitely point you in the direction of 2 or 3 different different ones. We've got quite a few written down here.
Perfect. Well, I'm seeing kind of an end of the questions there. If there's anything left kind of remaining, or anything we've kind of queued you off for, please throw it in the chat. We'll stick around here for a few more minutes, and I'll just take a quick look here. I don't know, Andrew, any other kind of comments or points we want to make sure we make?
Yeah, and I mean, I just see that sorry, William Guard says he's on the board of directors for HMCS Sackville in Halifax, and yeah, when I was in Halifax last, it was closed, so I would love to go visit it. I'd be very excited to see the Corvette, and yeah, for our internment project we're doing, we just dramatically increased the amount of content we have in Halifax. I encourage you to check it out. We had like 10 photos before, and then I just took about 100 as part of our internment project. We haven't launched the internment stuff yet, but there was an internment camp, as you probably know, at the Citadel. So we're doing a big project there, and anyway, I'd love to have a chat with you about it. I don't know if we could do like a virtual tour or something for you guys, and I just love to hear about your experience. So yeah, it'd be nice to chat in the future.
Perfect. There's just one kind of final question coming in, and I'm sorry, Timothy, I probably won't be able to answer this specifics here. Sorry, getting tongue-tied. If you're looking to develop an app specific to your town, like a white label app, it's outside kind of that initial price range estimate of the 6,100 to 16,000. This would be kind of hosting the content on your own setup. So we could get into that probably a little bit more kind of one-to-one. Typically, the process we see with a lot of our partners is they look to kind of build out a couple walking tours and then digitize it on their own app. But that being said, if there's a desire to jump right to white label and develop that, it's something we offer as well. So I'll make sure to make note of that, and we can follow up on that one-to-one.
And yeah, no, I just like to say thank you all for all the really nice comments, and yeah, no, it's I hope you enjoyed the presentation, and yeah, no, we will yeah, we can follow up with yeah, all the pricing information and the recordings and everything. Look forward to Chris's chat, and I'd love to chat with many of you as well.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much, everyone. And like Andrew was saying, I'll be looking to follow up with kind of everyone over the next couple weeks. You should be getting an email from me probably the next day or so with the webinar recording and some content. And if there's any questions, feel free to respond to the email, or you can reach out to me via phone anytime. But again, thank you so much, and looking forward to chatting with everyone further.
No, it's been a pleasure. Yeah, no, thanks everyone.
Perfect. Have a great rest of your week.
Yeah, yeah, enjoy the rest of your week, and have a nice weekend, everyone.